Every dream you've pursued, every fear you've surrendered to, every decision you've made, all began as a thought. Your mind is not just a place where ideas pass by, it is the workshop where your future is built. Look around at your current life, your career, your relationships, your habits, your level of happiness. None of it is random. It's a reflection of the thoughts you've allowed to take root, grow, and shape your actions. If you want to change your life, you must first change the way you think. In this audiobook, we will explore how to master your mind so you can take command of your reality. You'll learn how to break free from mental autopilot, set clear and compelling goals, guard your thoughts from negativity, and feed your mind with powerful ideas. We'll cover how to sharpen your focus, reprogram your inner voice, control your emotions, and turn setbacks into stepping stones. Along the way, you'll hear inspiring real-life and fictional examples of people who transformed their lives by transforming their thoughts. This is not about wishful thinking, it's about conscious thinking. It's about becoming the driver of your own mind, instead of being a passenger. The life you want is already being built in your thoughts right now. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Accept that your thoughts create your reality. Everything you experience in life begins in the same place, your mind. Before you take an action, before you speak a word, before you form a habit, there is a thought. That thought might be so quick or so familiar that you barely notice it, but it's there, quietly directing the course of your life. This is why one of the most important truths you can accept is this: your thoughts create your reality. This principle isn't just a motivational slogan, it's a law of life. The way you think shapes how you see the world, how you interpret events, and how you respond to challenges. If you believe opportunities are scarce, you'll miss the ones right in front of you. If you believe you're capable, you'll notice chances to grow and take them. Your mind acts like a filter, letting in what matches your beliefs and ignoring the rest. Consider how athletes use visualization to prepare for competition. They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds to see themselves winning. This mental rehearsal isn't superstition, it's a way to prime the brain to take the right actions under pressure. In the same way, your everyday thoughts are constantly training you for the life you'll live tomorrow. The challenge is that many people resist this truth because it means taking responsibility. It's easier to believe life is controlled by luck, other people, or circumstances. But the moment you accept that your thinking plays a central role, you gain power. You stop waiting for things to change on their own and start working on the one thing you can truly control, your mindset. This doesn't mean you can control every event in your life. Unexpected challenges, setbacks, and difficulties will come. But you always have control over how you think about them, and that choice will influence what you do next. Two people can face the same problem and have completely different outcomes, because one thought of it as the end, and the other saw it as the beginning of a solution. Your thoughts are like seeds. Every day you're planting ideas, beliefs, and expectations in the garden of your mind. Some seeds will grow into confidence, resilience, and opportunity. Others, if you let them, will grow into fear, doubt, and limitation. The soil doesn't choose what grows, it simply nurtures what's planted. In the same way, your mind will grow whatever you feed it. Accepting that your thoughts create your reality is the foundation of mental mastery. It's the starting point of every change you'll make from this moment forward. Chapter 2. Break free from mental autopilot. Imagine waking up, getting dressed, going to work, eating your meals, and ending the day without really thinking about what you're doing. You follow the same route to the office, greet the same people, eat the same lunch, and have the same conversations. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and before you know it, you've been living on repeat. This is what I call mental autopilot. Mental autopilot is when your thoughts and actions are guided more by habit and past conditioning than by conscious choice. It's not that you're incapable of change, it's that you've been letting the default settings run your life. These settings were installed years ago by your upbringing, your environment, your education, and your experiences. Over time, they became so familiar that you stopped questioning them. The danger of mental autopilot is that it feels comfortable. You don't have to think too hard, make difficult decisions, or challenge yourself. But comfort has a cost. It keeps you from growing. It convinces you that the way things are is the way they have to be. Think of Jacob, a talented graphic designer who always dreamed of starting his own studio. For years, he stayed at the same safe job because that's what he had always done. His routine made him feel secure, but deep down, he knew he was stuck. One day, he decided to pay closer attention to his thoughts. He realized that every time he imagined starting his own business, his mind immediately played a loop of what if you fail, and you're not ready. Those thoughts had been steering his decisions for years without him noticing. Jacob's breakthrough came when he decided to interrupt the loop. He began questioning those thoughts. Is this fear based on facts or just habit? He started replacing them with a new thought. I'll prepare until I'm ready, and then I'll act. Within a year, he launched his studio. It wasn't easy, but he was finally steering his own life instead of letting it drift. Breaking free from mental autopilot starts with awareness. You can't change what you can't see. Begin by noticing your daily patterns, not just your actions, but your thoughts. Ask yourself, what situations trigger my self-doubt? When do I say yes, out of habit, rather than choice? What dreams have I put aside because they feel too risky? You might be surprised at how many of your responses to life are automatic. Once you've identified your patterns, the next step is to create mental interrupts. This means pausing when you notice yourself reacting the same old way and asking, is this thought or action moving me toward the life I want? If the answer is no, choose differently, even in small ways. These small breaks in the pattern are how you retrain your mind. It's also helpful to change your environment. Mental autopilot thrives in sameness. New environments, meeting new people, learning new skills, traveling to new places, can jolt your mind out of its routine and make you think more consciously. Another key is challenging the stories you've been telling yourself. Many of these stories were formed years ago and are no longer true, yet they still influence your decisions. Ask yourself, what if the opposite were true? If you've been telling yourself, I'm not good with money, try asking, what would it take for me to become great with money? That shift opens up possibilities your autopilot mind would never consider. Breaking free from mental autopilot is not about throwing out all your routines. Some routines are healthy and supportive. The goal is to make sure your routines serve you, not trap you. Conscious living means you choose your patterns instead of letting them choose you. From this point on, think of yourself as the pilot of your own thoughts. The controls are in your hands, and every day is an opportunity to steer toward the life you want. Chapter 3. Get crystal clear on what you want. You wouldn't set out on a road trip without a destination. You wouldn't board a plane without knowing where it's headed. Yet when it comes to life, many people live without a clear picture of where they want to go. They work hard, stay busy, and make decisions every day. But they haven't taken the time to define exactly what they're aiming for. Without clarity, life becomes a series of random turns, and even if you make progress, you may end up somewhere you never truly wanted to be. Your mind works like a GPS system. If you don't give it a specific address, it can't guide you there. The clearer your goal, the more your thoughts, actions, and opportunities will align with it. Vague goals like, I want to be happy, or I want to be successful, are too blurry for your brain to lock onto. Your mind needs details, a vivid image it can work toward every day. Think about Oprah Winfrey. She didn't just dream of escaping poverty, She had a clear vision of using her voice and platform to inspire and uplift people. That clarity shaped her decisions, from the jobs she accepted to the way she built her media empire. She wasn't drifting, she was navigating toward a destination she had defined. So how do you get crystal clear on what you want? Start by asking yourself some important questions. What do I truly want? Not what others expect from me. Many people chase goals inherited from family, society, or social media trends. Why do I want it? A strong why gives you the motivation to keep going when things get hard. What will my life look like when I get there? Picture it in detail. The environment, the people around you, how you spend your days. The more specific you are, the stronger your focus becomes. If your goal is financial independence, define exactly what that means, how much income, from what sources, and by when. If your goal is better health, define the habits, routines, and measurable outcomes that would prove you've achieved it. Clarity not only directs your energy, but also filters your choices. Once you know your target, it becomes easier to say no to distractions. Opportunities that don't align with your goal become easier to pass up, no matter how tempting they seem in the moment. Let's look at a fictional example. Mia, a talented photographer. For years she told herself she wanted to do more with her photography, but she had no specific plan. She took odd jobs, shot random events, and stayed busy, but nothing really moved her forward. One day she sat down and defined her true goal to open her own portrait studio in 2 years, specializing in family and newborn photography. With that clarity, her decisions changed overnight. She stopped taking gigs that didn't fit her vision, invested in the right equipment, and began networking with clients who matched her target audience. Within 18 months, her studio opened. That's the power of knowing what you want. It turns scattered energy into focused action. Getting clear doesn't mean your goals can't evolve. Life changes, and so will your vision. The important thing is to have a target at all times. You can adjust your aim as you grow, but you can't hit a target you haven't defined. One practical exercise to gain clarity is vision writing. Spend 20 minutes writing about your ideal life as if it's already happening. Describe where you live, what you do for work, who you spend time with, how you feel each day. The more detail you include, the more your mind will begin to recognize opportunities that align with that vision. Clarity is not about knowing every step in advance. It's about knowing the destination, so your steps have purpose. Without it, you risk waking up years from now, wondering how you ended up where you are. Now that you understand the importance of having a clear target, the next step is to protect it. Because once you know where you want to go, you can't afford to let every stray thought, negative influence, or toxic voice knock you off course. Chapter 4. Guard your mind from negative influences. Your mind is the most valuable space you will ever own, yet many people leave it completely unprotected. They let anyone and anything walk right in, bringing opinions, fears, and distractions that take root and grow. Over time, those influences shape beliefs, emotions, and actions, often without you realizing it. If you want to master your mind, you must become its gatekeeper. Think of your mind as a high-walled garden. In that garden, you plant seeds, ideas, goals, and beliefs that you want to nurture. But if you leave the gate open, weeds will blow in from every direction. Some will grow so slowly you won't notice them at first. Others will spread quickly, choking out the healthy plants. Guarding your mind is about deciding what gets planted and what gets pulled out before it takes hold. Negative influences can come from many sources: the news you consume, the conversations you have, the environments you spend time in, and even your own self-talk. One of the biggest challenges is that not all negativity is obvious. Some comes disguised as being realistic or just telling the truth. But if it leaves you feeling smaller, more fearful, or less capable, it's not helping you grow. Consider Daniel, a fictional example. Daniel had big dreams of starting his own business, but he spent most of his time with colleagues who constantly complained about the economy, taxes, and how hard it was to succeed. The more he listened, the more his own motivation faded. He started to believe their fears were facts. One day, he realized his environment was shaping his thinking more than his own vision was. So he made changes, reducing time with the most negative people, seeking out entrepreneurs with a positive mindset, and limiting his daily news intake. Within months, his outlook shifted, and he began taking concrete steps toward his business. Guarding your mind begins with awareness. Ask yourself, who am I listening to most often? How do I feel after spending time with certain people, media, or activities? Do these influences support or sabotage my goals? Once you identify the main sources of negativity, you can start making intentional choices. This doesn't mean you have to cut people out completely or ignore all bad news. It means you decide the amount and type of input you allow. Here are a few practical ways to guard your mental space. 1. Limit toxic media. You don't have to consume every news headline or trending outrage. Choose reliable sources and set specific times to check them. 2. Set conversational boundaries. Politely steer conversations away from gossip, complaining, or constant criticism. 3. Choose your inner circle wisely. Spend more time with people who inspire you, challenge you to grow, and believe in your potential. 4. Create an environment that uplifts you. Fill your space with reminders of your goals, books, affirmations, vision boards, or even background music that energizes you. 5. Manage your self-talk. Sometimes the loudest negative voice is your own. Pay attention to your inner dialogue and consciously replace limiting thoughts with empowering ones. Guarding your mind is not about living in a bubble, it's about creating a filter. Just like a water filter removes harmful substances while letting the clean water flow through, your mental filter should block what's damaging while allowing in what's useful, truthful, and uplifting. One of the most powerful things you can do is conduct a mental inventory every week. Take a few minutes to reflect on what you've been consuming mentally. If you notice patterns of negativity creeping in, address them immediately. Pull the weeds before they take over. When you guard your mind well, something powerful happens. Your focus and clarity strengthen. You stop reacting to every opinion, rumor, or fear, and start making decisions based on your own vision. You create space for the right ideas to grow, and that space becomes a sanctuary for your goals. Chapter 5. Feed your mind with powerful ideas. Protecting your mind from negative influences is only half the battle. A well-guarded garden is important, but if you never plant anything in it, weeds will eventually find their way in. To truly master your mind, you must feed it intentionally, filling it with ideas, knowledge, and inspiration that push you toward the life you want. Your thoughts are the raw materials of your future. If you consistently expose yourself to small, limiting, or fearful ideas, your thinking will shrink to match them. But if you surround yourself with big, bold, and empowering ideas, your mind will expand to meet them. The quality of your mental input determines the quality of your output in life. Athletes understand this principle well. They don't just train their bodies, they consume information that sharpens their skills, inspires their performance, and strengthens their belief in what's possible. The same rule applies to you, no matter your field or goals. If you want a stronger mind, you must give it stronger fuel. Consider Will Smith, who has often spoken about his lifelong habit of reading biographies of great people. He said it gave him proof that others had faced enormous challenges and still succeeded, which in turn made his own ambitions feel possible. This is what powerful ideas do. They stretch your thinking and remind you that your limits are often imagined. To feed your mind effectively, Start by curating your inputs. Every book you read, every podcast you listen to, every conversation you have, and every video you watch is either nourishing your goals or draining them. Ask yourself, does this make me think bigger, feel stronger, and act smarter? If the answer is no, it's mental junk food. Here are a few ways to upgrade your mental diet. 1. Read daily, even 15 minutes a day, compounds over time. Choose books that inspire you, teach you, or challenge your perspective. 2. Learn from the best. Study people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Look beyond their results to understand their mindset. 3. Choose growth-focused media. Replace mindless scrolling with podcasts, videos, or articles that fuel your ambitions. 4. Have richer conversations. Spend more time talking with people who encourage, challenge, and inspire you. 5. Immerse yourself in environments of excellence. Go where high standards are the norm. Events, workshops, or communities that push you forward. It's not just about information, it's about repetition. The ideas you encounter most often are the ones that shape your beliefs the most deeply. This is why affirmations, vision boards, and reviewing your goals regularly can be so powerful. They keep your mind's focus on what you want, rather than what you fear. Let's take a fictional example. Mia, an aspiring entrepreneur, realized most of her day was filled with aimless social media browsing and casual TV watching. She decided to swap just 1 hour a day of that time for reading business books, listening to success stories, and journaling her ideas. Within months, her thinking shifted. She started spotting opportunities she would have missed before, and her confidence to take action grew. When you feed your mind well, your inner dialogue changes. Instead of constantly replaying doubts, you begin to think in terms of solutions and possibilities. Instead of being intimidated by challenges, you see them as chances to apply what you've learned. The reality is, your mind will always consume something. If you don't choose the inputs, the world will choose for you, and it will likely feed you fear, doubt, and distraction. You have the power to be your own mental chef, selecting the best ingredients for the life you want to create. Chapter 6. Train your focus for maximum impact. You can have the most brilliant ideas, the best strategies, and the clearest goals. But if your attention is scattered, progress will be slow and inconsistent. Focus is the force that turns potential into results. Without it, your energy leaks in 100 directions, and nothing gets the sustained effort it needs to grow. Focus is not just about concentrating on a task. It's about deciding what truly matters and giving it your best attention. In today's world, this is harder than ever. We live in an age of constant notifications, endless content, and competing priorities. The ability to focus deeply has become rare, and that's exactly why it's such a powerful advantage for those who master it. Think of focus like a magnifying glass. Sunlight spread over a wide area is warm but harmless. But when you concentrate that light into a single point, it becomes powerful enough to ignite a flame. Your mental energy works the same way. Scatter it, and it keeps you busy without real progress. Concentrate it, and you can achieve extraordinary results. Take the example of Alex, a fictional but realistic entrepreneur. When Alex started his business, he tried to do everything at once: manage social media, develop new products, attend networking events, learn marketing, and handle customer service. He worked long hours but saw little growth because his attention was divided. After some reflection, Alex decided to focus solely on perfecting one flagship product and marketing it effectively. Within a year, that single product became his company's signature success, and his profits multiplied. The difference wasn't working harder, it was focusing smarter. So how do you train your focus? First, you must identify your true priorities. Everything cannot be a priority at the same time. Ask yourself, if I could only accomplish one thing this month that would move me closest to my goals, what would it be? Your answer should guide your daily actions. Once you know your top priority, protect your focus fiercely. That means reducing or eliminating distractions, turn off unnecessary notifications, close extra browser tabs, and create work environments where your mind can settle on one task without constant interruptions. Another powerful tool is time blocking. Set aside dedicated chunks of time for deep work, 60 to 90 minutes, where you work on your most important task without checking messages or switching to other projects. This trains your brain to stay engaged for longer stretches and helps you enter a state of flow where your productivity and creativity peak. It's also important to practice single tasking. The modern habit of multitasking often feels productive but actually slows you down. Your brain works best when it can focus entirely on one thing, complete it, and then move to the next. Of course, focus is a skill that needs daily training. At first, your mind will wander. That's normal. When you catch yourself drifting, don't get frustrated. Gently bring your attention back to the task. Over time, your ability to stay focused will strengthen, just like a muscle. Your environment plays a big role too. If your workspace is cluttered or full of distractions, your mind will mirror that chaos. Keep your surroundings clean, organized and aligned with your goals. Even small adjustments, like having a dedicated place for your work or creative projects, can improve concentration. Equally important is knowing when to rest. Focus requires energy, and energy comes from proper sleep, nutrition, and breaks. Think of your attention like a battery. If you run it to zero without recharging, your performance will drop, no matter how motivated you are. When you train your focus, you move from reacting to life's demands to creating the results you want. You stop being pulled in a dozen directions and start making measurable progress toward your goals. This is the discipline that separates those who wish from those who achieve. Chapter 7. Reprogram your inner voice. Every day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you are in constant conversation with yourself. This internal dialogue, your inner voice, shapes how you feel, what you believe, and the actions you take. It's the most persistent influence in your life, and yet, most people never stop to examine it. For some, that inner voice is a supportive coach, offering encouragement and perspective. For others, it's a relentless critic, magnifying mistakes and doubting every move. If you've ever felt paralyzed by self-doubt or talked yourself out of a goal before you even began, your inner voice was behind it. The good news is that this voice is not fixed. You can reprogram it to work for you instead of against you. Think of your inner voice like the narrator of a story. If the narrator describes the hero as weak, unlucky, and incapable, the story unfolds in a predictable way. But if the narrator paints the hero as resourceful, determined, and resilient, every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth. You are both the narrator and the hero in your life story, which means you have the power to change the script. Consider Serena Williams. Throughout her career, she faced setbacks, injuries, and intense public scrutiny. Yet, she has often spoken about how she uses positive self-talk to maintain her confidence. Even in the toughest matches, she tells herself, "I can do this. I've done it before. I will win." That repetition of belief doesn't just sound good. It primes the mind to stay focused, make better decisions, and push through difficulty. The first step to reprogramming your inner voice is awareness. Start listening to what you say to yourself in moments of challenge, failure, or even success. Do you encourage yourself, or do you immediately point out flaws? Are you quick to give yourself credit, or do you dismiss your achievements as luck? Once you're aware of your patterns, you can begin to challenge them. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't do this," pause and ask, "Is that really true, or is it just a habit of thought?" Most of the time, it's not an objective truth. It's a conditioned belief, often rooted in past experiences or the opinions of others. Next, replace the limiting thought with one that's both positive and believable. If you're not ready to jump from "I can't" to "I'm the best in the world," try a bridge statement like, "I'm learning how to do this," or "I've overcome challenges before. I can handle this one too." The goal is to shift your self-talk in a way that feels authentic and builds confidence over time. It also helps to create a set of personal affirmations that align with your goals and values. These aren't just empty slogans. They are intentional statements you repeat to train your mind to think in empowering ways. Write them down and say them out loud daily, especially in the morning or before important moments. Over time, they become the new default responses in your mind. Be mindful of the language you use, even in casual thoughts. Phrases like "I'm terrible with money" or "I'm just not creative" might seem harmless, but they reinforce a fixed identity. Instead, frame things in a way that leaves room for growth. "I'm learning to manage my money better," or "I'm developing my creativity." Your brain takes your words seriously, so give it a script that moves you forward. Remember, reprogramming your inner voice is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing a perspective that empowers you to take action, even when things are hard. The most successful people are not those who never feel doubt. They are the ones who refuse to let doubt have the final word. When you turn your inner voice into an ally, challenges become less intimidating, mistakes become lessons, and victories become fuel for future growth. You carry a personal coach with you at all times, one who knows exactly how to keep you moving toward your goals. Chapter 8. Control your emotions by controlling your thoughts. Emotions are powerful. They can fuel your drive to take action, strengthen your relationships, and help you enjoy life's moments. But they can also cloud your judgment, push you into impulsive decisions, and drain your energy if left unchecked. What many people don't realize is that emotions are not random. They are the direct result of your thoughts. When you learn to control your thinking, you gain the ability to control how you feel. Every emotion you've ever experienced began as an interpretation of an event. The event itself didn't decide how you felt. Your mind did. Two people can face the same situation and feel entirely different emotions because of how they think about it. For example, losing a job could be seen as a devastating failure or as an opportunity for a fresh start. The difference is in the thought that comes first. This is why mastering your emotions starts with mastering your mental lens. Your thoughts act as filters, coloring your perception of reality. If your thoughts are filled with fear, criticism, or hopelessness, your emotions will match. If your thoughts are grounded in optimism, perspective, and possibility, your emotions will follow that path instead. Think about a firefighter running into a burning building. The physical situation is dangerous, but if the firefighter's thoughts were dominated by panic, they wouldn't be able to act effectively. Instead, they focus on training, procedure, and the task at hand. Those thoughts create a state of controlled urgency rather than paralyzing fear. The same principle applies to you. The more intentional you are about your thoughts, the more you can steer your emotional state. The first step in controlling emotions through thought is awareness. When you feel a strong emotion, anger, fear, anxiety, sadness, pause and ask yourself, what was I thinking right before I felt this way? You'll often discover a specific thought or story you were telling yourself. By identifying it, you can decide whether it's accurate, helpful, or worth keeping. Next, practice reframing. Reframing means choosing to see the situation from a different, more constructive angle. This doesn't mean denying reality. It means looking for the perspective that gives you the most useful emotional response. If someone criticizes you, instead of thinking, "They're attacking me," you could think, "This is feedback I can use," or "Their reaction says more about them than about me." You can also use mental questions to shift your emotions. For example, what else could this mean? What can I learn from this? What's one thing I can do right now to improve the situation? These questions pull your mind out of reactive mode and into problem-solving mode, which immediately changes your emotional state. Another powerful tool is emotional rehearsal. Just like athletes visualize their performance, you can mentally rehearse staying calm and composed in situations that normally trigger you. If you know you'll be in a stressful meeting, imagine yourself breathing deeply, speaking clearly, and handling challenges with poise. When the real moment comes, your mind will recognize the pattern and be more likely to follow it. It's also important to remember that emotions are temporary. They pass, just like weather. When you understand that a strong emotion is not permanent, you can give yourself space to let it settle before making important decisions. A helpful habit is to delay reactions when emotions are high. If you're angry, wait before sending that email. If you're anxious, take a short walk before deciding on your next step. That pause gives you time to reset your thoughts and in turn your emotions. Of course, controlling emotions doesn't mean never feeling them. You're human, and emotions are part of the experience of life. The goal is not to suppress them, but to manage them so they work for you, not against you. Positive emotions like joy, gratitude, and excitement can be amplified by intentionally thinking about what you appreciate and what you're looking forward to. Negative emotions like fear or frustration can be redirected by focusing on solutions instead of problems. When you realize your emotions are created by your thoughts, you step into a position of power. You no longer have to be at the mercy of every mood or reaction. You can decide, moment by moment, how you want to feel, and take control of the thoughts that will get you there. Chapter 9. Turn setbacks into stepping stones. No one gets through life without facing challenges. Setbacks, failures, and disappointments are part of every success story, not exceptions to it. The difference between people who rise stronger and those who stay stuck is how they respond when things go wrong. When you understand how to reframe setbacks, you can turn them into stepping stones that carry you closer to your goals. The first thing to realize is that a setback is not the same as a dead end. A setback is a temporary detour, a change in route, not the destruction of your destination, but when you're in the middle of it, it can feel final. That's because your mind is wired to react to losses more strongly than to gains, a survival instinct from our earliest days. If you're not careful, this instinct can make you see every challenge as proof that you should stop trying. Look at the story of Steve Jobs. Being fired from Apple, the company he co-founded, was a crushing blow. But instead of letting it define him as a failure, he used the time to start new ventures, like Pixar and Next, which sharpened his skills and creativity. When he eventually returned to Apple, those experiences became the foundation for some of the company's greatest innovations. The setback was painful, but it became one of the most valuable periods of his life. Turning a setback into a stepping stone begins with your interpretation. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Every challenge carries a lesson about strategy, patience, resilience, or the need to adjust your approach. The faster you look for the lesson, the faster you can grow from it. Another key is to separate the event from your identity. Failing at a task does not mean you are a failure. Losing a deal does not mean you are worthless. Too often, people attach their self-worth to outcomes, and when those outcomes are negative, their confidence collapses. You must remember that your value is not determined by a single result. It's shaped by your persistence and your willingness to keep going. One practical strategy is what I call the setback debrief. Whenever you experience a disappointment, take time to answer 3 questions. What happened? Be honest and factual, without sugarcoating or exaggerating. What can I learn from it? Identify specific takeaways that can help you improve. What's my next step? Decide on one immediate action that will move you forward. This process shifts your focus from dwelling on the problem to finding solutions, which changes both your mindset and your momentum. Let's use a fictional example. Laura dreamed of publishing her first novel, but after sending her manuscript to multiple publishers, she received nothing but rejection letters. At first, she was crushed and considered giving up, but then she applied the setback debrief. She realized her query letters were generic, and her story's pacing needed tightening. She took a writing course, rewrote parts of her manuscript, and resubmitted. This time, she received multiple offers. What could have been the end of her dream became the turning point that made her book better. Another important shift is to see setbacks as preparation. Many times, the obstacles you face are building the skills, patience, and resilience you'll need for bigger challenges ahead. Without the detours, you might not be ready when the real opportunity arrives. It's also worth noting that some setbacks are signs that you need to adjust your strategy, not abandon your goal. If you keep hitting the same wall, it may be time to change your approach, learn a new skill, seek advice, or take a different route to the same destination. Finally, remember to zoom out. A setback feels enormous when you're looking at it up close, but in the context of your entire life, it's just one chapter. 5 years from now, it may even be the moment you look back on as the turning point that made everything else possible. When you choose to treat setbacks as stepping stones, you transform them from weights holding you down into platforms, lifting you higher. You begin to see that every difficulty contains the seed of equal or greater benefit, but only if you're willing to search for it. Chapter 10. Surround yourself with people who elevate you. The people you spend the most time with have a direct influence on the way you think, feel, and act. Whether you realize it or not, their beliefs, attitudes, and habits are constantly shaping yours. This is why it's often said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you want to think bigger, achieve more, and live better, you must be intentional about the company you keep. Human beings are wired for connection. We naturally adapt to our environment, and the people around us are a huge part of that environment. If you're surrounded by those who constantly complain, expect the worst, and settle for less, it's almost impossible not to absorb some of that mindset. On the other hand, if you're surrounded by people who strive for excellence, believe in possibilities, and push themselves to grow, their energy and habits will influence you in the same direction. Consider the story of Thomas Edison. While his personal genius was undeniable, he also built his life around other innovators, thinkers, and problem solvers. He surrounded himself with people who challenged his ideas, contributed their own, and worked toward a shared vision. That environment fueled his creativity and kept him motivated, even through repeated failures. The first step to surrounding yourself with people who elevate you is awareness. Take a close look at your current circle. Ask yourself, do these people inspire me to improve, or do they make me comfortable staying the same? Do they celebrate my successes, or do they subtly discourage me? Do they challenge me to think differently, or do they reinforce my limitations? If the answers reveal that your circle is holding you back, it's time to make changes. This doesn't always mean cutting people out completely. Sometimes it's about adjusting how much time and energy you give to certain relationships. Limit your exposure to consistently negative or toxic influences, and create more opportunities to connect with those who uplift and challenge you. One way to do this is to seek out growth-oriented communities. This could be joining professional associations, mastermind groups, online forums, or clubs focused on your areas of interest. When you're around people who share your goals and values, you naturally adopt more productive habits and thought patterns. Another approach is to find mentors. A mentor doesn't have to be someone you know personally. They can be authors, speakers, or leaders you follow closely. Learn from their experiences, study their mindset, and apply their lessons to your own life. Over time, these influences will become part of your mental environment just as much as your in-person relationships. You can also elevate your circle by becoming a source of growth yourself. People who inspire others tend to attract other inspiring people. When you commit to your own improvement, share your knowledge, and encourage those around you, you create an environment where everyone rises together. It's important to note that elevating your circle isn't about surrounding yourself with perfect people or rejecting anyone who struggles. It's about balance. You can support friends or family going through hard times, but you also need to protect your own mental space. Think of it like being on a plane. You put on your own oxygen mask first, so you can help others. Let's look at a fictional example. David was a talented young architect, but most of his friends were content working just enough to get by. They often teased him for working late or pursuing big projects, saying he was too ambitious. Over time, David noticed he was starting to slow down his efforts to fit in. Realizing this, he joined a local network of architects and entrepreneurs who shared his drive. Within months, his motivation surged, his ideas grew bolder, and his career began to take off. The only thing that had changed was the environment he kept himself in. Your circle should act like a mirror that reflects your best potential back to you, and sometimes it should reflect an even higher potential you didn't know you had. When you surround yourself with people who elevate you, you'll find yourself aiming higher, thinking bigger, and believing more strongly in what's possible. Chapter 11. Build daily routines that shape your future. Success is rarely the result of one big decision or a single lucky break. More often, it's the product of small, repeated actions that compound over time. These actions, woven into your daily routine, have the power to shape your thoughts, your habits, and ultimately your future. If you want to change your life, start by changing what you do every day. Your routines are powerful because they run on autopilot. Once established, they require less mental energy to maintain, freeing up your focus for higher-level thinking and decision-making. The key is making sure your routines are aligned with your goals instead of working against them. Think about how professional athletes operate. They don't train only when they feel motivated. They follow a structured routine that includes practice, nutrition, recovery, and mindset work. Over time, those routines become second nature, keeping them at peak performance regardless of mood or circumstance. To build routines that shape your future, start by identifying your non-negotiables, the habits that, if done consistently, will have the greatest positive impact on your life. These might include reading for personal growth, exercising, practicing gratitude, or reviewing your goals each morning. The point is to deliberately choose actions that reinforce the person you want to become. It's also important to design routines that are realistic. Many people fail because they try to overhaul everything at once. Instead, introduce one or two new habits at a time and allow them to settle before adding more. This approach builds momentum without overwhelming you. Consider the fictional example of Rachel, an aspiring writer who struggled to make progress on her first novel. She often waited for inspiration to strike, which meant days or weeks could pass without writing a single word. Finally, she committed to a simple routine: write for 30 minutes every morning before checking her phone or email. Within a few months, she had a completed manuscript. The difference wasn't a sudden surge of creativity, it was the discipline of a daily habit. When designing your routine, pay attention to triggers, cues in your environment or schedule that remind you to take action. For example, leaving your workout clothes next to your bed can prompt you to exercise first thing in the morning. Placing a book on your pillow can remind you to read before sleep. The easier you make it to start, the more likely you'll follow through. It's equally important to remove triggers for bad habits. If you want to reduce mindless social media scrolling, log out of your accounts after each use, or keep your phone in another room during focus time. By controlling your environment, you make the right choices the path of least resistance. Another powerful addition to your routine is reflection. Take a few minutes each day to review what went well, what could be improved, and how your actions align with your goals. This not only keeps you on track, but also trains your mind to look for patterns and solutions. Your routines should also include moments of renewal. High performance isn't about working non-stop. It's about balancing periods of focus with periods of rest. Even short breaks to stretch, breathe deeply, or step outside can keep your mind sharp and your energy steady throughout the day. Remember, the true value of a routine is not just in the actions themselves, but in the mindset they create. A person who begins each day with intention, invests time in personal growth, and takes consistent steps toward their goals, develops an identity of discipline and purpose. That identity shapes every decision they make. Let's return to the bigger picture. Your future is not built in some distant someday. It's built today, and tomorrow, and the day after that. Every small action you take is a brick in the foundation of the life you're creating. The question is, are you building something sturdy and inspiring, or are you leaving your future to chance? Chapter 12. Align your thoughts, actions and purpose. You've learned how to take control of your thoughts, guard your mind from negativity, focus your attention, and build habits that support your growth. But none of it reaches its full power unless your thoughts, actions and purpose are aligned. Alignment is the state where what you believe, what you do, and why you do it all work together. When these three are in harmony, your life gains a sense of clarity and momentum that feels almost effortless. Think of a rowing team. If each rower is moving in sync, the boat glides smoothly across the water. But if one is out of rhythm, the boat slows down, wastes energy, and drifts off course. In your life, your thoughts are one rower, your actions another, and your purpose the third. If they aren't working together, you'll feel resistance and frustration, even if you're working hard. The first step to alignment is clarifying your purpose. Purpose is your why, the reason you want to achieve your goals in the first place. It's what gives meaning to your efforts and helps you stay committed when challenges arise. Without a clear purpose, even well-intentioned actions can feel hollow or exhausting. Ask yourself, why does this matter to me? What impact do I want my life to have? The answers don't have to be grand or world-changing. They just have to be deeply true for you. Once you have clarity of purpose, examine your thoughts. Are they supporting your purpose or undermining it? If your purpose is to build a thriving business, but your inner voice constantly whispers, "You're not cut out for this," you're rowing against yourself. This is where all the mindset work from earlier chapters comes into play, consciously choosing thoughts that align with your greater why. Next, look at your actions. Many people believe their purpose is important, yet their daily choices tell a different story. They say health is a priority, but skip workouts, or claim financial freedom is a goal but overspend without thought. Alignment means matching your actions to your stated priorities, even in the small decisions. Let's take a fictional example. Marcus's purpose was to help young people from disadvantaged backgrounds access better education. He believed in this deeply, but his thoughts were often filled with doubt about whether one person could make a difference. His actions reflected the doubt. He'd delay projects, avoid fundraising calls, and second-guess his ideas. Once Marcus worked on strengthening his belief that his efforts mattered, he began to take consistent action, meeting donors, speaking at events, and building partnerships. Within 2 years, his program reached hundreds of students. The shift happened because his thoughts, actions, and purpose finally lined up. A practical way to check your alignment is to do a weekly audit. Write down your top 3 goals or priorities, then list the actions you took in the past week. Ask yourself, do these actions reflect my real priorities? Are my thoughts encouraging or resisting them? The goal is to close the gap between intention and execution. It's also important to remember that alignment is not a one-time achievement. It's an ongoing practice. Life changes, circumstances shift, and sometimes your purpose evolves. The process is about regularly recalibrating so that your mind, behavior, and values stay connected. One powerful question to ask yourself each morning is, what's one thing I can think, one thing I can do, and one reason I'm doing it today that aligns with my purpose? This keeps your mind anchored in all 3 areas. When your thoughts, actions, and purpose are in harmony, you experience a sense of integrity, not in the moral sense alone, but in the sense of wholeness. You stop feeling like you're being pulled in different directions. Instead, every effort you make builds on the last, moving you toward a future that feels meaningful and intentional. This is the point where mastering your mind becomes more than a personal achievement. It becomes a way of living. You're no longer just managing your thoughts, you're using them along with your actions and purpose to create the life you truly want. We've reached the end of this audiobook, but in truth, this is just the beginning for you. Over the past chapters, we've explored a journey that started with a simple but powerful truth. Your thoughts shape your reality. From there, you've learned how to become aware of your mental patterns, break free from autopilot, set a clear vision, protect your mind from negativity, feed it with empowering ideas, and sharpen your focus. You've reprogrammed your inner voice, learned to control your emotions, turned setbacks into stepping stones, surrounded yourself with people who lift you higher, built routines that keep you on track, and finally, aligned your thoughts, actions, and purpose. Each principle builds on the last. It's not about mastering one and forgetting the rest. It's about weaving them together into a way of life. Because when you master your mind, you don't just improve your thinking, you transform your decisions, your habits, and ultimately your future. Remember this, your mind will always be at work, whether you guide it or not. If you don't plant intentional seeds, it will grow whatever drifts in, fears, doubts, or distractions. But if you choose your thoughts consciously, you'll create a mental environment where confidence, resilience, and opportunity flourish. The challenge now is to take what you've learned and apply it daily. Don't wait for the perfect time to start. Begin now, today, with one small action that moves you in the direction of your vision. Maybe it's replacing a negative thought with a constructive one. Maybe it's setting aside 10 minutes to review your goals. Maybe it's reaching out to someone who inspires you. These small steps are how you build momentum. There will still be challenges ahead. Life will test you with setbacks, distractions, and unexpected turns. But you're no longer just a passenger in your own mind. You're the driver. You have the tools to steer through uncertainty with clarity and purpose. Keep revisiting these principles whenever you feel off track. Some days you'll need to refocus your mind. Other days you'll need to protect it from outside noise, or remind yourself of your why. That's normal. Growth is a continuous process, and mastery comes through consistent practice. As you move forward, remember that mastering your mind is not only about creating the life you want for yourself, it's also about the impact you can have on others. When you live with intention, confidence, and purpose, You inspire people around you to do the same. Your mindset becomes a quiet but powerful force that can ripple out and change lives. The life you want is already forming in your thoughts right now. You have the ability and the responsibility to choose those thoughts wisely, to direct them toward the future you desire, and to act in alignment with them every day. Think it, live it, and never forget, you become what you think.